I've tried countless times to put into words the adventures we go on and the situations we get into, and I just can't seem to do it. So we're going to show you. We're an international auction company specializing in all things vintage power, antique tractors, vintage cars and trucks, motorcycles, signs, and memorabilia. We're not just auctioneers, we're collectors with a passion for every item we sell. But it's not just about the items, it's also about the people. We get to experience, share, and tell the history of our past. Every day is different in the auction industry. You just never know what's coming next.
This time, we dig out a dusty tractor in California, see one of the first internal combustion engines, and visit with a generous collector in South Carolina. Plus, the girls have a drag race. This oil pull Rumley tractor has sat in this location for over 40 years. Today the team needs to move it out of the building, but first they need to clear a path. You just need a mower deck.
Yep. And grass.
Be ready to go. That's true. I haven't seen any grass since we got here.
A little parched. It's an early one, isn't it? Pan seat, be like a 66, 5. Okay. Valve stem's a leaker. My gut tells me that's part of that. Got one of those little totes. Spare parts.
What was that big boom earlier?
I got my pocket watch. His wallet fell in the dumpster.
My calculator's now. This Rumley is a Model M, rated at 20 horsepower on the drawbar. It also has extension rims on the front and rear of the tractor. This has something to do with where the tractor is located. Ripon, California is in the middle of the Central Valley that covers about 18,000 square miles. The valley is California's most productive agricultural region and provides half of the fruits, vegetables, and nuts grown in the United States. This Rumley is fitted with these extension rims to give it more surface area and to help drive across the sandy soil. This brown loam soil led Benjamin Holt to design his track-type tractors that could easily maneuver this terrain. Do it again.
I didn't feel it. Now you're going to bend that bar.
That's all my weight on it.
There aren't a lot of them out here.
Everyone's always been able to. Well. That's good.
I will. Yes.
Just for the first foot, then you can turn it.
sitting on top of it. It's finally getting a little wind on it.
The Rumley is now out of the way, but there's plenty more moving and sorting to do before they are done. When we come back,
I'm from right here.
You're from right here.
My parents bought this place in 1942. I've been here all my life. My dad was a merchant in Piedmont. He started a grocery store during World War II. Then after World War II, he opened up a checkerboard feed store. And I grew up in a checkerboard feed store downtown and been here all my life and lived here and it's home. I made my living with tractors doing transmission power lines. And I owned a lot of tractors then, and I did that for 23 years, and I quit and sold my business, and just got interested in older tractors and started collecting one or two, and it just grew. I got to going out west and met a lot of friends out there, and it's just been a real good thing for me for the last 25 years.
The Powdersville Y was built in 2016, and immediately was a huge success with a lot of community support around donations and people joining, and so it grew quickly and people saw that the impact that the Y was having in this area, and so through that we got to know Mr. Wilson really well, and then one day not too long ago just got a phone call to say, hey, come out and come visit with us.
We were real fortunate to get a call from the Powdersville YMCA that Mr. Wilson had donated his entire tractor collection to the YMCA, and they called us about dispersing it. It's a really rare occurrence, that a tractor collector would donate their entire collection to a cause like this. So it's a special event. It's a very philanthropic thing for Mr. Wilson to do, and it's great. Makes you feel good.
I wanted the money to stay in the community, and I thought about it and prayed about it a long time, and felt like at the Y they do an awesome job here, and everybody would benefit from them, because there've been a lot of thousands of people through here and seen them. Like I said, the Y was the best place for them to go, because it's here in the community and they serve everybody, and I'm happy about it. I'm not sad about it. I'm happy for where it's going.
This is an unbelievable, generous gift that will really have generational impacts on this community and really preserve the community heritage for many years because of his generosity and his family's willingness to really bless the community is what he's doing. Is he's saying, I'm taking my resources and I'm going to bless the community and the lives in this community for years to come. And that is our role at the Y, is to make sure that that happens.
A collection like this doesn't sell very often, no matter where you're at in the United States, but it's a little more common in the Corn Belt, and we get down here in the Southeast, an antique tractor auction doesn't happen very often. So this is kind of like coming to an antique tractor show, except everything's for sale. So it's a really neat event. It's history, it's action, it's it's American pickers, it's hot rod, so it's just be a fun event to come to.
I just hope that everybody will come out and support it, and it's all for the Y. Nothing's going anywhere else. It'll be all for the community and that sort of thing.
there's always something being delivered to the auction center. Today, two 1950s four-wheel drive tractors were just unloaded. Shannon and Callie decided to take the tractors for a test drive.
What are you gonna do?
We are going to race. Drag race.
We'll see what happens.
You want to hit the gravel pile?
Well, I was a little worried, yeah, I was going to drop the pile.
These are the Harris Power Horse four-wheel drive tractor, built by the Harris Manufacturing Company of Stockton, California. The company released these tractors in 1954 based on a design from Albert Bonham. These tractors were not popular with farmers, and production ended in 1964 with only a few thousand built. It's unknown exactly how many still exist, but they are highly sought after by collectors.
That's your throttle, that handle. So you said throttle it up a little bit. Get it shifted into what gear you want, and then throttle it up a little bit, and then you can do your donuts if you want. 2, second gear.
Coming up, while in Kansas, the Aumann team stopped to see Jerry Taves, an early engine collector. Jerry owns one of the earliest internal combustion engines designed by Eugene Longden and Nicholas Otto. This is a full-scale replica of the original design first built in 1867. Jerry's engine was built by Wayne Grenning.
1867, during that time frame, steam engines were in their glory days, and the steam people thought the people that were fooling around with old gas engines were absolutely crazy, that it would never be successful. But you can see what happened to the steam engine, and the gas engine is kind of taken over. So it's transmitting the power to the flywheel on the downward stroke.
So is that clutch engages when it comes down on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
The clutch wheel Alex mentions freewheels on the shaft as the piston moves downward. Once the engine fires, it shoots the piston upward. It's the force of the piston moving downwards that engages the clutch and spins the pulley. This is the same technology used in pull starts for small engines like a chainsaw.
Yeah, because the explosion, it freewheels going up.
Right.
And then it engages, and it's just like if you try to pull a piston out of a closed cylinder, it wants to go back down.
Right, right.
That's where the power is transmitted to the phone. Wayne did just an incredible job. The machine work is just unbelievable. And this journal right here, this is 1,000 pages of his process of building this.
Wow. Wayne started by building 1/3 scale models of the engine and eventually decided to build a full-size replica. Wayne did extensive research and spent years building and machining all the parts. In the end, he decided to build only 2 full-size models. The engine runs on hydrogen gas and produces just half a horsepower.
It's not a mix. It's just straight hydrogen.
This is
Okay.
We run this on straight hydrogen. Yeah, he has some of those up there that he mixes his fuel. But
You would never guess that that many gears are turning
I know
to produce a half horsepower.
Yeah.
that's right.
That's a lot of machining
It's
for a half
so
horsepower.
little noise for all the movement that's happening right now.
Yeah, you kind of hear those gears ringing just a little bit.
Just barely.
Yeah. On this rack gear, as it's descending, it has that little leg sticking out. Now it's going to push this lever down. And when it pushes that lever down right there, that's what releases that call. There. Once that side. Now you got that back up in the air again, and it's just freewheeling there.
We're saying that he's actually sucking it down into the.
Yeah, it's the suction until it kind of neutralizes, and then that very last. That's
when it fires again.
Yeah.
The engine works on atmospheric pressure, meaning the changing of the temperature from hot to cold and the weight of the piston and flywheel push the piston downward. When the piston reaches the bottom of the cylinder, a valve opens, letting the fire into the cylinder that ignites and then pushes the piston upwards. Unlike a modern 4-cycle engine where the piston is attached to the connecting rod and crankshaft, this piston is not attached to a connecting rod or a crankshaft. Instead, the piston is only attached to a ratcheting rod that engages when the piston fires upward.
Drawback to this engine was that it was very inefficient. So Otto continued experimenting, trying to make an engine that didn't take as much fuel to create more horsepower. And so he experimented and experimented, and he finally decided that having compression would really increase the horsepower. But he was really kind of afraid, but eventually he came up with the 4-cycle idea. This was 1867, and in the early 70s, like about 1872, he started experimenting with a 4-cycle engine. By 1878, he came out with the slide valve engine. It used compression. It had intake, the 4 strokes that we know today, intake of fuel, compression, then ignition happens, and there's the explosion in the cylinder, and we have the power stroke, and then we have the exhaust stroke. And so, well, I'll shut this off and I'll show you what that means.
Next time, we'll check out Jerry's slide valve engines, dig through a dusty building for treasures in California, and discuss vintage harvesting machines.